impacts. Climates Change the World Special Edition. 2025 was a year so hot that the term global warming seemed insufficient, and global boiling came into use. Many places around the world reported record high temperatures. A new average worldwide temperature was reached in 2024, and it seems likely to be exceeded in 2025. The World Meteorological Organization is giving particular attention to Asia. Reports indicate that Asia's warming is progressing at double the speed of the rest of the world.
The climate crisis is the defining challenge that humanity faces.
What is it that's causing this boiling of Asia's climate? We take a look at the reasons and the effects on people's lives.
Hello, I'm Bobby Judo. This summer, Tokyo experienced a record heat wave with temperatures exceeding 35 degrees Celsius for 10 straight days. Other cities and countries around the world are experiencing similar record-breaking weather events. With what we in Japan call guerrilla rainfall and massive typhoons, it seems that extreme weather has reached a global peak. Today, we'll be discussing climate conditions in Asia. How have people in this part of the world responded to new risks, and what can we learn from their experience? For that discussion, today we're joined by one of Japan's foremost climate change experts, Dr. Hijioka Yasuaki.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Our pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
The Japanese National Institute for Environmental Studies is responsible for a range of climate-related research. Hijioka leads the Center for Climate Change Adaptation. As countermeasures to climate change, they follow two strategies: mitigation in reducing greenhouse gas levels, and adaptation in avoiding and lessening damage. Hijioka continues his research on how these two concepts can be made use of worldwide.
So, adaptation and mitigation. Put in simple terms, learning to live in a changing environment and trying to stop things from getting too much worse. But how do you define these concepts specifically in your work?
Climate change mitigation involves taking action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere or to increase the capacity of the carbon sinks to absorb them. Climate change adaptation refers to the action taken to reduce or avoid the negative impact of climate change, while also capitalizing on opportunities. When it comes to the adaptation, it's important to apply it to people's lives and lead to action. My institution also posts to its website with the hashtag Let's Adapt, using social media to suggest things people can do in their daily lives.
This is their website. As global warming progresses, people around the world more frequently encounter high temperatures and weather abnormalities. The site acts as a resource to inform about countermeasures or ways to stay safe among the unusual weather conditions.
For example, it compiles 15 adaptation actions, such as adaptation lifestyles to stay comfortable during intense heat waves, preparing disaster supplies, and reducing food waste as part of a dietary adaptation.
It seems like a very important effort, especially here and now in Asia. Let's take a look at some of the evidence for that.
Recently, the World Meteorological Organization, a specialized agency of the United Nations, published a report on the state of the climate in Asia in 2024. The report's startling key message drew attention from all over the world. Asia is currently warming nearly twice as fast as the global average. In 2024, many regions of Asia were subjected to extreme weather conditions. China had its highest temperatures in 70 years. Indonesia faced thousands of hectares of drought. India saw 1.65 million people grapple with flood damages. In Pakistan, glacial flooding forced the evacuation of thousands. One indicator of climate change and global warming is average temperature. The WMO has used 6 types of data to analyze the average temperature in Asia. It discovered that the average temperature has increased by 1.04 degrees Celsius compared to temperatures observed from 1991 to 2020. This indicates that compared to the global average rate of increase, Asia's average temperatures are rising at double the speed. Another is sea surface temperature. Weather conditions such as tropical storms and local ecosystems are greatly affected by this indicator. In 2024, heat caused the sea surface temperatures in Asia to rise to record highs. Over the past 10 years, these temperatures have risen 0.24 degrees Celsius. This too is around twice the rate of the rest of the world. The condition of sea surface temperatures remaining consistently high is called marine heat waves, and they reached a new peak during the year. 2024 was a year of concerning results regarding temperature levels for both the air and sea in Asia. The fact that their increase reached twice the worldwide average came as a shock. Even worse, these temperatures have a major effect on climate conditions in Asia. One such result can be seen in the cryosphere, which includes land-based ice, such as glaciers. The mountainous area between the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalayas composes the largest region of the cryosphere, aside from the North and South Poles. The glaciers of Asia have been subjected to intense warming, which combined with reduced winter snowfall brings about large-scale melting. Among 24 glacial locations surveyed by the WMO, reductions in volume were observed in 23. In Sikkim, a state in northeast India along the Himalayas, melting caused the collapse of glacial lakes. The state government counts the dead and missing at over 100, with around 90,000 people suffering damages.
वही तो 3.5 को सब लोग हल किया और बोला डैम फूटने वाला है सब चला गया तो इसीलिए आप कुछ भी निकाल नहीं पाए अभी तो हम ऊपर हॉल में रह रहे हैं.
In 2024, unusual rainfall was observed frequently throughout the world. The United Arab Emirates had its largest rainstorm ever seen since weather observation began in 1949. Despite the desert climate, the amount of rain reached 259.5 millimeters in just 24 hours. It was more than twice the average amount of rain for an entire year.
I was born and raised in Dubai, and I've never seen rain like this ever fall onto this country. So it was quite a challenging time. Massive, massive rain.
In other areas of Asia, the complete opposite has been occurring at concerning levels. Inland China has contended with an extreme drought that has affected some 4.76 million people, causing damages to over 330,000 hectares of farmland. Economic losses have exceeded $400 million as a result.
Now, that's an awful lot of data for the average person to try to process. But just a quick look, we can see that the levels for air temperature and seawater temperature are very high. Is there a relationship between the two?
Yes, there's a connection. For example, the general trend of the temperature has been rising since the 1970s. In the sixth assessment report, the IPCC said in the strong terms that there is no doubt that human activity are playing a role in the background to this climate change. Greenhouse gases, such as the carbon dioxide emitted by human activities, warm the Earth. And this is reflected in various figures, such as the rise in the air and the sea temperatures.
We hear the term man-made climate change a lot these days. Evidence has shown for a long time that human activity does contribute to these effects. And I know that warming is progressing all over the world, but is it really true that here in Asia it's happening at almost twice the global average? And if so, why?
The World Meteorological Organization said that the Asian rate of the rise in air temperature and the sea surface temperature are twice as much as the rest of the world. This is due to geographical conditions. Asia is a vast continent with extensive inland area, so meaning many regions are less likely to benefit from the moderating effect of the sea breezing on temperature rises. In Asia, urbanization has progressed alongside socioeconomic development, resulting in a pronounced urban heat island effect and a hotter environment.
Climate change is an issue that's shared by the entire world, but for the reasons that you've laid out for us, it seems clear that Asia is standing on the front lines. Let's continue by looking at some of the specific problems faced by some Asian countries.
As global warming increases with double speed, weather conditions throughout Asia lead to danger. With 48% of its surface area occupied by forests, Indonesia is extremely vulnerable to wildfires. In June 2019, the islands of Kalimantan and Sumatra were the site of major fires that raged on for nearly 6 months. 3.1 million hectares of land were consumed in the disaster, a surface area greater than that of the entire nation of Belgium. The fires spread the most in mid-September. NASA identified these red points as regions where active fires broke out. As they reached various islands, the fire spread to around 90,000 locations. These fires are growing especially common among the aridification caused by rising temperature. This graph shows the rainfall levels recorded from 2002 to 2022. When compared with the number of fires, it demonstrates that fires are more frequent during times of low rainfall. Massive fires owing to climate conditions are known as megafires. Another factor adding to the risk of fire is peatland, a type of soil that accounts for 11% of Indonesia's surface area. Peatland is extremely moist soil, causing plant matter to accumulate in the earth without breaking down. During periods of reduced rainfall, that moisture escapes, leaving the plant matter packed within the now flammable soil. When anything causes it to ignite, the fires burn down into the earth and continue underground. This is peatland shortly after a fire. Although it may appear safe, an infrared camera reveals intense heat where the fire continues within the soil.
Lahan gambut akan menjadi bahan bakar yang cepat terbakar, dan ketika dibakar atau terbakar, lahan gambut akan menyebabkan kebakaran yang tidak terkontrol dan susah untuk dipadamkan.
The damage from fires doesn't stop at forest destruction. The smoke billowing from them is toxic to those who breathe it. According to the World Bank, in 2019 alone, over 900,000 people in Indonesia were given hospital treatment for pollution-related symptoms. Faber Christian Munti is a pulmonologist who treated patients that year.
Dikarenakan asap yang kita ketahui tadi kandungan kadar karbon dioksidanya tinggi, karbon monoksidanya, gas metannya tinggi, itu juga menyebabkan inflamasi saluran napas.
Balia was among those treated for respiratory problems.
Jadi ya itu tadi kan dia mulai bersin awalnya, terus gatal hidungnya sampai biasanya berdarah gitu. Jadi ada hidungnya berdarah sampai akhirnya sesak napas yang benar-benar sampai ke asmanya kambuh sehingga harus ditangani dengan nebulizer yang menggunakan obat.
With climate change come forest fires, and from those fires, greenhouse gases are emitted, along with smoke that can be deadly to human life.
So I've seen on the news forest fires all over the world, from the damage to high-end real estate in California to the devastation of wildlife in Australia, the fires in Europe as well. But this is the first I've heard of a case where the soil itself ignites and is actually flammable.
This is known as a peat fire. Once they ignite, they are difficult to put out because the fire continues to smolder in the underground peat layers, making firefighting operation difficult and prolonged. When these places burn, regions that originally worked to store carbon dioxide end up releasing the stored carbon dioxide. New storage areas are also lost. Peat layers store carbon dioxide more efficiently than forests, so the loss is enormous.
It's a very big loss. These sorts of fires affect not only carbon dioxide storage, but also emissions. So would working to prevent them fall under that category of climate change mitigation?
That's correct. Carbon dioxide control involves two approaches: reducing new emissions and making the most of the storage functions. The IPCC has presented the results of scenario analysis indicating how much the world must reduce emissions to keep the temperature rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Forests and peatlands take a long time to form, so it is difficult to increase their area of the Earth. The key is to find a way to prevent them from being reduced. Indonesia's peatland is about 26.55 million hectares, about 14% of the country's land. This accounts for about 4.6% of the world total.
Wow.
And protecting it is of great importance to the entire world.
And of course, fires like these also cause health hazards to local residents. Would the category of adaptation cover ways that we can try to reduce the impacts on the health of local residents?
That's right. Reducing the impact on human health is an appropriate adaptation. The damage caused by climate change manifests itself in various forms, but health damage is the most significant. In a broader context, protecting forests and reducing carbon dioxide emissions overall is important, but the damage directly hits humans where we are vulnerable. Adaptation refers to the development of medical care and the creation of the system for communication information about air pollution, taking into account the impact of climate change.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's look at some other cases in Asia where climate change has had serious health impacts.
Rising temperatures from global warming are also connected to worldwide outbreaks of dengue fever. In 2024, some 14.6 million cases were recorded globally by the World Health Organization. Compared to 20 years ago, the number has increased almost 30-fold. The most notorious carriers of the virus are yellow fever mosquitoes. Formerly limited to tropical and subtropical climates, they now appear across the globe.
Number one is the climate change. And with the variation in temperature, favorable temperature, they are really spreading further south as well as to unknown territories where they have never existed previously.
According to WHO reports, until the 1970s, dengue fever infections were reported in 9 countries. Dengue fever later became common in the Americas and Europe, and is now spread to more than 100 countries. Around half the world's population is susceptible to the infection. The severity of Asia's climate-related problems is especially clear in the Philippines. In 2024, the country reached a new high in dengue fever cases, with more than 1,000 deaths. Hospitals in the capital of Manila have more new patients admitted with each day. Dengue brings high fevers, nausea and aches, and serious cases can cause low blood platelet levels, blood loss, and complications leading to death.
Kamot siya, sumasakit din po yung tiyan niya, tapos nangangati siya, yung nagkapantal-pantal na siya, tapos kinabukasan nagdugo na po yung ilong, kaya dinala ko na po sa ospital. Masakit po sa akin kasi syempre ayaw ko po magkasakit yung mga anak ko, inalagaan ko po sila ng...
To respond to the rise in infections, this hospital opened a ward specifically for dengue fever. The Department of Health states that infections have spiked in the last 5 years, with 410,000 cases in 2024. In 2025, the number of cases recorded as of April was up 75% from 2024. Though unable to prevent the disease entirely, the focus has been placed on avoiding it by reducing the number of mosquitoes. Yellow fever mosquitoes lay their eggs in stagnant water. In just a small puddle, they can reproduce within a week. To help combat the spread of dengue fever, a Japanese startup sprang into action. Sora Technology is a company using drones and AI to fight the threat of infection around the world. Drones can fly overhead and take aerial photos to identify water where mosquito larvae may appear. They photograph a wide landscape, then use unique AI to analyze it. First, the surface temperature is analyzed to detect the locations of water. These are marked in pink. Other points, such as the water's transparency, are used by AI to judge the likelihood of larva presence. An app highlights high-risk areas with red icons and low-risk areas with green ones. The team goes to check the high-risk areas directly for the presence of mosquito larvae.
Yes, yes. It's visible. います。くにゃくにゃ動いてるやつ。
It will rain.
Here.
動いてるやつ。
動いてる。
1、2。
2匹いますね。
There are 2.
The larvae are found in an open water tank outside a home. Yellow fever mosquitoes are capable of reproducing even within small traces of water found in everyday objects. Tiny dangers lurking on the periphery of everyday life. This project was the first of its kind in the Philippines. If the AI data is refined further, it should enable more accurate findings and the identification of more water posing a risk.
過去と違った気象条件でデング熱ウイルス自体の広がりみたいなのもあるので、フィリピンでやったことっていうのはデング熱がこれまでいなかった地域においても役に立つソリューションを作っていけるんではないかなというふうに思っています。
It's clear that climate change has a major effect, not just on ecosystems, but on our health as well.
I was particularly interested in this one because I was actually hospitalized with severe dengue fever earlier this year, and I was honestly very scared about how quickly the disease can become deadly. And I contracted it while I was traveling, so I was very aware of the fact that infectious diseases don't just stop in the local area. They can quickly go viral and become international problems very, very quickly. So in working to counteract them, how important is international cooperation?
Good question. Mosquitoes that transmit infectious diseases can easily cross national borders and regional boundaries. The survival conditions of the virus itself and the organisms that transmit it are both closely linked to climate conditions. Due to climate change, dengue fever is a hot topic, with its range of the infection expanding rapidly over the past 10 to 20 years. Even more frightening is viral mutation. As the infectious range expands, mutation occurs, and the possibility of the more virulent variants emerging can't be ruled out.
The more people get it, the more the infection spreads, the greater the chances are that a mutation will occur and it could become even worse.
Yes.
Given those facts, what do you think of the efforts being made to crack down on the sources of infection that were highlighted in the video?
I believe this is a good example demonstrating the effectiveness of adaptation. The establishment or expansion of mosquito population are linked to the climate change, making control extremely difficult. However, it is possible to identify and eliminate breeding sites. Of course, this is a demanding task requiring considerable time and effort. What's noteworthy is the use of drones. It is a new, compact, and highly mobile technology. In adaptation, factors like operational simplicity and the cost are also crucial requirements for feasibility. In that sense, I believe this is a highly effective adaptation measure.
So this is a measure that really did a very good job of developing a process that was not only easy to implement, but it's easy to use?
That's right. The technology introduced here has already been effectively deployed in Africa to combat malaria. It is another mosquito-borne disease. It is reassuring that the Japanese company is involved in its implementation. Traditionally, Japan has been recognized not only for the technology that aids adaptation, but also for its effective implementation and management. This is considered one of Japan's strengths.
Definitely. Now, this initiative was led by private Japanese companies, but the Japanese government is also working to address climate change issues in Asia as a part of the region. They're doing that in collaboration with the private sector.
In 2023, the Japanese government formed the Asia Zero Emission Community, or AZEC. The group includes 11 countries: Japan, Australia, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. They work together to form countermeasures to global warming for Asia as a whole. They have implemented a 10-year plan for carbon neutrality and net zero. Detailed discussions are taking place on topics such as visualization of greenhouse gases and decarbonization of transport.
脱炭素はアジアの共通課題です。解決の鍵はイノベーションです。AZEC 参加国と日本企業などとの間においては350件以上の具体的な協力案件が進んでいます。
To realize these measures, cooperation between the public and private sector is invaluable. Of particular importance are the unique ideas held by Japanese companies. Shabondama Soap, which is headquartered in Kitakyushu, manufactures additive-free soap for home and industrial use. In 2008, they developed a fire-extinguishing agent based on their soap. By using natural ingredients, it's able to minimize damage to the environment while also helping fight fires. This nature-friendly fire-extinguishing agent is now being prepared for distribution to combat Indonesia's massive megafires.
(2015 年とですね、2019年が各州で各島で泥炭火災が多発しました。世界の火薬庫とも言われてるんですけども、そこで唯一具体的な対策だと思われます環境に優しい消火剤を活用して地球温暖化のゲームチェンジャーの一つとなるということを目指して今努力をしています。
Among continuing wildfires, In August 2024, a test was carried out on Indonesia's Kalimantan Island. Firefighting efforts were compared using water alone and the fire extinguishing agent, with the latter succeeding in putting out fires using 1/4 the normal amount of water. With the effects of the surface activation from soap, fires are extinguished deep into the earth. Examining the burnt land left behind by fires, using fire extinguishing agents also allowed much faster plant regrowth than water alone.
カリウムと窒素、肥料の原料なんです。もろに。で、多分それが植物の成長、それを促す、そういう効果があろうという見込みを立てています。
Previous fire extinguishing agents did little for the forest after the fire went out. However, the type made from soap performed admirably in that respect.
Selain buat lingkungan tadi. Nah, itu yang memang yang menjadi keunggulan ini, selain efektif, dia juga aman bagi tim pemadam dan juga lingkungan.
In recognition of its overall utility, in September 2025, this project was selected for a subsidy by the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry.
Dr. Hijioka, what do you make of this sort of tag team effort between the government and the private sector?
Asia is a home to developed nations, emerging economies, and the developing countries coexisting. This offers the advantage that more advanced nations can share their technology and experience with those now enter their developing phase. Climate change issues require each country to set targets and achieve them. A mechanism for Asia to cooperate and collectively support each other in meeting these goals would be highly significant.
One of these goals is net zero, but what exactly does net zero entail and how can it be realized?
Offsetting greenhouse gas emissions by absorbing them through afforestation and conservation efforts to achieve net zero emissions. Japan, for example, aims to advance innovation in Asia by providing low-carbon technologies through public-private collaboration, such as renewable energy and hydrogen utilization. I believe Shabon soap's technology also has a high potential to contribute to net zero goals as well as adaptation.
Meanwhile, in a time where global cooperation is of the utmost importance, the United States has withdrawn from the Conference of Parties and has reduced spending on climate change countermeasures.
In the field of the climate change, American research has long led the world, and the US has provided funding and other support to the international organizations. It is precisely when that leadership falters that ASEAN unity gains its true significance.
That's a great point. I do believe that a united front in facing climate change will either make or break us. Because regardless of the political circumstances, this is a phenomenon with effects that are being felt and will continue to be felt. And one such effect that the ocean neighboring nations of Asia is feeling currently is the rise in sea level.
The issue of rising sea levels is attracting attention worldwide. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change announced that in the period from 1901 to 2018, the world's average sea level increased by 20 centimeters. The last 2 decades show a particular rise. Among global warming double the world's average, rising sea levels pose a direct threat to Asia. 6 observed areas in Asia have each risen more than the worldwide average of 3.4 millimeters. Due to its low elevation, Bangladesh has lost more than 66,000 hectares of land to rising sea levels since 1967. And between 50,000 and 200,000 people have no choice but to relocate each year.
ঘর দুয়া সব ডুবি টুবি আসি তারপর বাচ্চা কোচা নিয়ে খুব অসুবিধার মধ্যে আসি থাকতে বলতে পাইনি ঘর তো দেখে ওইটা পানি দিয়ে ভরি টরি গেছি আর বাসার মধ্যে কিছু করে পাইনি এখন খুব কষ্টের মধ্যে আমি আছি
Vietnam, bordered by the South China Sea. The Mekong Delta, where the Mekong River flows into the sea, is known as the country's largest rice farming region. Now, a major change is occurring there. This area was once home to rice paddies. It has since been repurposed for shrimp aquaculture.
Làm lúa sau này là làm không được lúa nữa. Nhưng mà sau này á, là nước nó càng mặn lên, nó càng cao á, thì nó tràn vô, nó xâm nhập mặn hết. Lúa đâu có làm đâu còn ăn nữa.
Renowned for its fertile soil, the Mekong Delta has been a prominent location for growing rice and fruit. Many of these crops were exported, supporting the national economy. But recently, in the season when water levels are low along the Mekong River, seawater flows upstream. It often reaches 50 to 100 kilometers inland, overflowing into the Mekong Delta. When seawater seeps into the earth, it changes soil quality, preventing rice from growing there, damaging the key industry of agriculture. One reason for the rising water is thermal expansion. When seawater is warmed, it physically expands. With each 1 degree Celsius temperature is raised, its volume increases by 0.025%. The record high atmospheric and ocean temperatures reached in 2024 are thought to be playing a part. Another reason is the melting of land-based glaciers and ice sheets. Water existing upon land is present in the forms of ice and snow. This includes the ice sheets at both poles and the Himalayan glaciers. When these massive bodies of ice are affected by warming, their water melts into rivers, driving up the sea level. According to the IPCC, among the water level increase from 1971 to 2018, 50% was due to thermal expansion, 22% to melting glaciers, and 20% to melting ice sheets and glaciers at the North and South Poles. They have compared 5 scenarios for global sea levels, including cases where greenhouse gases are sufficiently regulated and where they remain in their current state. In the worst scenario, water levels may rise 1 meter by the year 2100. In 2024, the UN released a report describing expected future rises in sea level. By 2050, the 6 cities likely to be most affected are New Orleans, Atlantic City, Osaka, New York, Boston, and Shanghai. In Shanghai, if the temperature increases 2 degrees, an area of the size displayed on the left is expected to be submerged. Needless to say, the damage would be immense.
So it's been said that rising sea levels will cause some South Pacific islands to be completely submerged in a matter of decades, and it seems like we can already see that damage beginning.
Rising sea levels pose a problem with far-reaching consequences. Not only island nations in the South Pacific, but also low-lying agricultural areas like Vietnam. And indeed, many of the world's major cities located along coastal lines face severe damage. In Asia, Indonesia's decision to relocate its capital from Jakarta stem not only from social overcrowding, but also from the risk that a significant part of the city could be submerged due to climate change.
They're considering some very, very frightening near-future possibilities. If I can bring us back to Vietnam for just a moment, if rising sea levels can't be avoided there, what sort of adaptations are possible?
Moving rice cultivation inland is one form of the adaptation. However, much of Vietnam's rice growing region is concentrated in low-lying coastal areas. Moving farmland inland would involve securing land and relocate people. So I think a major issue here will be whether or not people will choose to move or to try to stay for as long as they can.
Yeah, relocating a farm would be a very big endeavor for a local family or for a community. And so it does seem likely that people would choose to remain where they are for as long as it was possible. Speaking of agriculture, the rising sea temperatures don't just cause sea levels to rise, they also impact regional weather patterns, which can be very important for agriculture, especially in terms of rainfall.
Bringing huge amounts of water in short periods of time, torrential rains lead to damage across the globe. In August of 2025, rainfall from linear rain bands caused heavy rains across Kyushu, Japan. In some areas, more than 300 milliliters fell over 24 hours, causing floods and landslides severe enough to destroy homes and claim lives. Major rainfall poured down over Pakistan from June to August, with a monthly rainfall level 73% higher than in 2024. The ensuing disasters caused over 300 deaths. One of the countries to face especially frequent damage is Thailand. The country always experiences increased seasonal rains, but they have grown much heavier in recent years. In 2011, rains of a scale not seen in 50 years caused extreme flooding. In August, 2 provinces of northern Thailand were struck by multiple tropical cyclones. Intermittent rains caused the Chao Phraya River to overflow, seeping into surrounding regions. In October, the water reached central Ayutthaya. Seven industrial areas near the city were flooded and severely damaged. More than 800 companies located there suffered losses. Approximately half were Japanese-owned. The majority were suppliers for electronic and automotive businesses, so the flooding caused worldwide production to halt. By late October, the floods had traveled all the way south, affecting the area of Bangkok near the river. The market was soaked and covered in trash. Public transit was suspended and people's lives disrupted. There were many victims of the flood, with 2.3 million affected and around 800 fatalities, causing economic losses estimated at $4 billion. The National Meteorological Agency has performed analysis on rain patterns.
เรื่องของสภาวะภูมิอากาศที่เปลี่ยนแปลงหรือสภาวะโลกร้อนในปัจจุบันเนี่ยนะครับก็มีหลายอย่างที่เปลี่ยนแปลงไปจากสภาวะเดิมนะครับเดิมเนี่ยคือฝนตกต้องตามฤดูกาลคือตกได้ต่อเนื่อง
Their research has concluded that monsoons have a major effect. Water vapor from the Indian Ocean is carried by these seasonal winds to be released over Thailand. As these heavy rains seem to grow worse and worse, Thailand is developing a new system to share information on rains and floods with its residents. Thailand's Geoinformatics and Space Technology Development Agency, JISDA, teams up with the UN Satellite Center to operate a shared flood prediction system. Satellites are used to detect flood information. This data is analyzed by AI in order to predict the locations and scale of future occurrences.
ก็จะปรากฏเป็นขอบเขตสีฟ้าๆนะคะก็คือเป็นพื้นที่ที่ยังคงมีน้ำท่วมขังอยู่ค่ะก็ข้อดีของแพลตฟอร์มตัวนี้นะคะก็คือเป็นข้อมูลที่เป็นเรียลไทม์นะคะหลังจากที่เรามีการรับสัญญาณแล้วเราก็จะทำการวิเคราะห์นะคะภายใน 2-3 ชั่วโมงนะคะ
Data is provided to 9 organizations, including the Meteorological Agency and Department of Water Resources, where analysis progresses. The information can even be accessed through a mobile app developed by GISTA. Flood information is received immediately. The areas are classified by danger level, with red indicating the most dangerous. Despite the alarming increase in sea surface temperature, there seems to be very little that can be done to fully stop the problem.
Living in Japan long term, I've noticed that in recent years that rain seems to be more sudden, heavier, less predictable. Flooding seems to be more common. I know that in Kyushu and in my hometown of South Florida, weather patterns like typhoons and hurricanes have changed drastically. And at the same time, at least as a layperson, I have the general sense that weather prediction has become more difficult and less reliable as weather models are changing. Is there hope for some kind of adaptation here?
Various approaches to utilizing data have been attempted thus far. AIs are further accelerating this utilization.
AI is?
Yes. Accumulating and analyzing data improves the predictive accuracy. Incorporating geographical information, the status of the countermeasures enable to creation of the customized hazard maps for each individual. Asia features numerous island regions and remote inland areas where terrestrial communication infrastructure remains underdeveloped. However, in recent years, direct communication services between satellites and smartphones have started, accelerating the establishment of the information infrastructure. Its population structure is young and smartphone penetration is high. Adaptation strategy leverages these strengths are expected to be effective.
Asia, when we talk about it, it's important to remember that we're talking about a region that includes China, Russia, the Korean Peninsula, the Middle East. It's a vast area with lots of geographical and cultural differences. But one thing that they all have in common is that they're facing the disastrous effects of climate change. As a final thought, how should we approach climate change or learn to coexist with it?
Climate change is not a distant future concern, but a major challenge humanity is already facing. Climate change impacts are threatening our daily lives. Although mitigation measures are important for addressing this issue, the impact of climate change can't be entirely avoided. Therefore, we must also pursue adaptation strategies. Scientific information may seem a little difficult for the average person to process it, but it provides us with various insights for solving the climate change problems. Among these, there are many measures we can take ourselves. Let us consider the climate change problem as our own responsibility and take immediate action ourselves, both in mitigation and adaptation. This will lead to the sustainable society.
I very much hope that it will. And Dr. Hijioka, I'd like to say thank you for your research and your work in helping point the way towards that society. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.